Hello, hello. Here we are, day 27 of Swim for Recovery, where we are looking at 27 miles, 1,782 laps, the equivalent of that in a pool. As mentioned before, I'm coming out of the ear infection stage. So, I've been walking a mile and then I ran a mile in the pool. So I'm making the mile happen one way or another a day, just not underwater in the pool. But here we are. Today we get to hear from Nate Wilson. Nate's going to share part of his story, which I'm real excited about for him. I know he's been looking forward to sharing this, and today is a special day for him as well. So I'm going to do a quick sound check, and then we're going to fire that one up. And then after this, we are going to chat a little bit about what's happening in 2 days here in Denver. Big event, the big party, September 29th, wrapping up Swim for Recovery, and also celebrating the recent publication of my book, the Addiction Intervention book. But we're celebrating all the stories that have been shared this month and just the successes. So we'll hope you'll come be inspired that evening, and make sure you register right there. So one thing I want to encourage you also is to share this post with others, because not everybody is in my circle of influence, but they're in your circle of influence. So, all right, there we go. We're good to go. All right, so let's get Nate's story fired up again. Swimming a mile a day, doing a mile a day to raise awareness for recovery. And it's been a great month so far. Real excited for what's been happening and all the comments and support and feedback. And you can always go to swimforrecovery.com and show your support for the month. There's a link on there you can use, and you can just show your support, help out financially to support the campaign, to support future opportunities to help people looking for sober living or counseling scholarships and needs. And that is what we're using it for. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Nate on and enjoy his story. He's an awesome guy and has a great story to tell. So, Nate, we're going to let you take it away.
This meeting is being recorded.
There we go. This meeting is being recorded. Yes, it is. Just so you know, Nate, we're recording this message.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, welcome to another swimforrecovery.com recovery story. And we're just here to share some experience, strength, and hope to give people a different perspective. You might connect with Nate's story, you might connect with someone else's story in the 30 stories for this month. But Nate Wilson and we met, I don't know how many years ago. It's been a while.
I think around 4 years ago.
Yeah, it seems like forever
4 years ago.
sometimes, like four,
Yeah,
4 or 5 years ago ish. And Nate was a first time author back then, and we just connected about recovery stuff and interviewed him on the podcast show. So we kind of got his whole story back then, which your story is a lot different now, which is really cool because God's been doing a lot of work in your life. But Nate, what is your sobriety date and from what substances?
That's a good question. So my sobriety date from meth and heroin is February 27th, 2009, which is about let's see, 4 days after my birthday. And I went to court on my 21st birthday and got sentenced to some jail time. But I had a couple days before I had to turn myself in. So I used up until about 20 minutes before I turned myself into jail. That's when I did my last shot of heroin.
Wow, how was that? How was that detox in the jail cell after you shot up?
Yeah, you find out this was a stupid idea when you're detoxing in a jail cell and you got no meds or anything. So yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was a real deal. So if you're watching right now and you're thinking about shooting up, or if you're going to jail, don't do it. Nate just told you not to do that. But there was a time and point. We'll get to the turning point in your life, kind of like down the road. But yeah, so something along the way just kind of said, "Hey, Nate, life's not going so well. Why don't we start shooting up heroin?" That kind of how it went.
Well, it starts back to when I started. Well, really, it was with cocaine when I was about 16. That's where everything started. And even before that, if I'm looking a little deeper, it was when I started smoking pot at 14. So I was smoking pot at 14, tried mushrooms, drinking. Then it turned into cocaine at 16. Then it turned into meth. And meth, I fell in love with from my first hit, taking it off a bong. And then my brain chemistry just changed after that. So I had about 2 years of heavy meth use, and I ended up going kind of crazy and had a real bad psychosis after a couple years. Endured a lot of trauma with my friends dying and going to jail and all that stuff. So once I went crazy, I decreased the meth use a little bit, but then I discovered a lot of drinking and heroin, because heroin didn't aggravate my psychosis type the same or the same type of way.
Yeah.
Uh, so I kind of self-medicated with the heroin for the mental health issues that I had from meth.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's quite a progression, right? And one thing I forgot to ask you is what city and state are you sitting in right now?
Right now, I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I live in Woodland Park, Colorado, about 30 minutes into the mountain from here.
Cool. Yeah. Beautiful place out there for sure. But it doesn't matter if it's beautiful or not. There's always a reason to use drugs and alcohol. And you mentioned something about like a chemical or a brain switch, right?
Mhm.
Tell people more what that's like, because I don't think a lot of people may not understand. We got alcoholics and things like that, but there's a psychosis thing that can happen in your brain. So tell people a little bit about that before we get into the recovery part of your story.
Yeah, well, I can remember very, very vividly what the effect was like when I took a hit of crystal methamphetamine off of a bong. So it was very potent. It was a huge cloud of smoke that I exhaled. And about 10 seconds after I exhaled it, I had the most euphoric feeling I had ever had. And I know that there was just something in my brain chemistry that switched after that that wasn't going to ever be the same after that. Now, you multiply that over years, doing it multiple times a day, shooting it multiple times a day. I mean, your brain chemistry just flips upside down, and it's something that it's indescribable the way it changes you as a person. Looking at it scientifically, basically what it is a real lack of dopamine because you're overstimulating that dopamine release, and so without that drug, if you know anything about dopamine, I mean, it just ruins your motivation if you don't have any. You have no will to do much if you're not under the influence. Um, and then you get into staying up for days and days on end, and that's where the psychosis really comes in because you should be sleeping, you should be eating, you should be drinking water. You're not doing any of those things. So not only are you pounding this dopamine into your brain that shouldn't be there, you're also doing it without sleep and without food and while you're dehydrated. So there's going to be some things that happen that things that click on that shouldn't click on, switches that happen that shouldn't switch, and it's never quite the same afterwards. So you experience a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, and not something you thought down the road when you started using cocaine at a young age that you would turn into like this kind of lifestyle. And so something happened, right? And all of a sudden, a climactic moment, or what happened to kind of move you into the direction of like recovery that you're in now?
Mm. So, multiple suicide attempts. I took a razor blade to my throat, tried hanging myself in county jail. Um, and then I get sentenced to jail time after I took my shot of heroin, or before that, but I actually went into jail after the shot of heroin. And, I just got tired of it. I just got so tired of trying to kill myself and not succeeding, got tired of the legal trouble, got tired of my probation officer being pissed at me all the time and being a disappointment to my family, DUIs, just got tired of it, man. And so when I got out of jail, I just, I can't say that there was like what do I want to say, an aha moment, or there wasn't a light that came through the window in jail or anything. I didn't hear, the voice of God or anything, but I just got out and did everything that I should have been doing all along. It wasn't really climactic, I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
Now I did drink for years after that, and that was kind of, I call that the first phase of my recovery. So I wasn't completely sober. I was just drinking, but I was off of meth and heroin, and I wasn't in the situation that I was before. That's kind of what my second book is about. It's about phase one of recovery and what phase two is. Um, so I got through phase one, years of drinking. But obviously, if you're drinking, then you're not sober. You're not going to be the best you can be. So I didn't perform very well at jobs at times because of that. Had trouble maintaining intimate relationships, and just, even though I wasn't as destructive as when I was using meth and heroin, I was drinking all the time, and there were certain things I was blinding myself from about myself. So I just wasn't quite there yet. And I got popped with what would have been my third DUI. And it got dropped because the cop was out of his jurisdiction. And I get very lucky, very lucky.
Wow,
And
that you don't hear that very often. That's crazy.
no, and I'm surprised I had a little bit of luck left in the tank, after all those years. But it got dropped, and at that point, I had a son. I knew that if I were to abandon my son, I mean, I would have been pretty disgusted with myself. So when that case got dropped, I was like, you know what? I am not going to get another shot like this. So that's when I finished personal training school and got sober. Well, most importantly,
Yeah,
all
you
the way
say
sober.
yeah, getting drunk and going to work out, that's usually not a good situation.
It was horrible. I worked out hungover a couple of times, and it sucks. It was horrible.
Oh man. Well, for a guy that at the end of my drinking, tried to kill myself with a 350-pound barbell across my chest. Like I pretty much have an aversion to barbells still today when I go to the gym. So
Uh,
I probably got some more traumatic work and stuff to do there. But so here you are in recovery. You're doing this recovery thing. You're in Woodland Park at this time, or where are you now?
so I live in Woodland Park. My office is down here in Colorado Springs for New Visions.
Okay. All right. But when you got sober, was that in Woodland Park, or where were you living then when you
I was
found this?
living in Woodland Park at the time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. And so so now how do you maintain this? And your sobriety date was when again?
From meth and heroin, it was February 27th, 2009. From drinking, I didn't really track what the day was. It was about 6 years ago.
Okay. So in the last 6 years, you've learned some tools along the way to help you maintain this sobriety and live a healthier life. And you've also had some cool life things that have happened too along the way. So what have you done over the last 6 years to find enjoyment in your recovery?
Mm. My career and what I do to help others is what keeps me going every day. That and family. Um, so yeah, I have a wife, I have a son, I have a stepson. Um, my wife has some other sons. They're out of the house, but I got a big, huge family that I really love to. I like to be the strong one for the family. I think that's what I'm meant to do as a man, and so I really enjoy that part of my life, being that rock. And I think that's the way God intended it for me. So I enjoy that. And then I work with youth in Colorado Springs and in Woodland Park too. And I love what I do. I love my program here. we're we're an experiential program or an activity-based program, and I just get up every morning just loving what I do for the kids, for the community.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. And I know faith is a big part of your journey as well. So can you touch on that a little bit? Like, how has your faith play a role in you going forward as a father, as a leader, as a husband?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a funny history with faith, as do most addicts, I'm sure. I was raised being taken to church every Sunday and sometimes forced to go to church every Sunday, which kind of caused some resentment in me. Um, so as I got older, well, obviously in my addiction, I was not very connected to God or to any type of spirituality or faith. So
All right. I'm not sure if I disappeared during that or not. I'll have to watch the replay. Seemed like it clicked out there for a second. But hey, Nate, thanks for sharing your story. If you missed it, His whole story will be on swimforrecovery.com, and you can always watch the replays there for all of the other 26 stories that we posted. And just want to say God bless and thanks for tuning in. Make sure to register for the September 29th party. There's the domain name. Going to be 6 inspirational speakers. We're giving away one free copy of my book to each attendee. Food, drinks, entertainment, just all sorts of fun stuff. So come on down and hang out as we wrap up swimforrecovery.com as well. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you